Hello everyone, it's Darkseeker here again. Welcome back for another video. Now I'll say the same thing that I say in every video. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, I hope you are keeping safe and I hope you are keeping well. COVID is, a real struggle at the moment, and I hope that all of you out there are taking precautions to stay safe, and I hope that you are coping okay and getting through things. Let's look at today's deck. The Darkmoon Faire expansion has been released, and this is the first deck that I have played from the expansion. It is Knoepklapper's Hadronox Reno Druid with N'Zoth the Corruptor. Oh, and N'Zoth, God of the Deep. So double N'Zoth for double the value. So Knoepklapper, by the way, is a really cool deck creator, somebody that publishes off-meta decks that work on the ladder, that actually work. And these decks are entertaining, they are fun to play. I would strongly recommend that you follow him on Twitter, which is where he publishes his decks. And you could be looking at the composition of this deck, and you could see double N'Zoth and Hadronox, and you could be thinking, hang on a minute, is this a meme deck? Ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you this is not a meme deck. This is what I would define as a solid deck in terms of ladder performance, at least from my experience. But let's not go on my experiences, because I only play a small number of games with most of the decks that I showcase on this channel. Let's refer to Knoepklapper's stats, and on Twitter he has posted stats across two versions of the deck in totality. 20 wins and 12 losses. Hey, that is not bad at all for a deck of this nature. And if you look at the breakdown of the stats, he demolishes Demon Hunter, 4 wins, 1 loss, very impressive. Against Mage, 2 wins, 1 loss, still pretty good. Priest, 3 and 2, not bad at all. Still a positive win rate against Priest. Absolutely demolishes Warlock, 7 wins, 1 loss. That's incredible. The problem is against Druid. 3 wins and 5 losses, and specifically it is aggro Druid that causes the problem, because by turn 4 you could just be dead, and with this deck you won't necessarily have a way of combating that really super early aggression. So you have to get quite lucky, I guess, with your draws, and they have to get very unlucky with theirs. But look, this is a really fun deck to play. It's a very expensive deck, over 21,000 dust. So please, I'll put out the health warning that I always put out. Please don't go and craft the deck, play it, and then come back and say in a week's time, oh, I didn't win any games with the deck. What a waste of dust. You have to enjoy the play style of this deck if you are going to craft the cards and play the deck. So you have to know that you're going to enjoy the playstyle, and you have to enjoy playing the specific cards too. So maybe when you watch this video and you see this deck being played, it'll give you an idea if this is the right deck for you. If you have any questions about the deck, please leave them in the comments section below and Knoepklapper will get back to us. This deck centers around N'Zoth the Corruptor, bringing back your Death Rattle minions. Hadronox is a Death Rattle minion. Oh, and she brings back the taunts that died in this game. And there are lots of taunts in this deck. For extra value, you have N'Zoth, God of the Deep. Resurrect a friendly minion of each minion type. Oh, no, there's a dragon in this deck. Oh, there's a mech. Oh, Hadronox is a beast. And if you ever wanted any more value, there's Vectis, Greybough. Oh, and Elise the Enlightened, just to give you that extra value in case you needed it. So our first game is against a Priest. So yes, this is a very greedy deck when you look at the composition. There is so much value in it. And one of the ways that you can take advantage of the value is by ramping up with Overgrowth. And starting to play your more expensive late game threats and cards a bit earlier. Now here I'm debating whether to keep Geppetto. I'm going up against a Priest. I'm going to assume it's Reno Priest. So is Geppetto an okay keep? That's the question. I think it is in this situation. I could be wrong. I'm sure Knoepklapper will correct me. But I'm thinking I'm going to have the time to play Geppetto in this game. And if I can play him early and get 2 good draws, it would have been worthwhile. Please excuse the deck tracker on the right, it isn't functioning correctly. This is, after all, the first game that I've played with the deck tracker active for the new expansion, and it hasn't quite synced itself correctly. So did we guess correctly? This is actually quite a fun dynamic, this guessing dynamic. Okay, next turn we can coin out the Overgrowth. And then we'll see where that takes us. Palm reading, interesting. Okay, so he's going to get some cheaper spells because of palm reading. Okay, Polket. So we can kind of expect a certain combination of cards to come through soon. He'll draw his most expensive ones first. So we know Shadow Reaper Anduin will soon be in hand, as will Psychic Scream. And we have to be cautious of that. How much do we want to commit to the board and play into a Psychic Scream? There's the question. Okay. That's fine. Vectis. It's a 4/4. It's not especially threatening. Well, maybe it is now that we don't have a taunt in the way. So we could just play Kartut here. Now you may be thinking, why have I wasted the Floop effect on a second Kartut defender? Surely you'd want to utilise it on, I don't know, Reno or N'Zoth or the other N'Zoth, or Zephyrus or some utility card that's valuable. I just want to keep the board pressure up, or the board presence up. We're not really putting out any pressure here. Not yet. But I just want to keep the board presence up. And actually, against Priest, getting Kartut Defender back multiple times from N'Zoth could help me in the late game once Shadow Reaper Anduin is active. Okay, that's not too bad. I'm immediately looking at Umbra and the cube value, potentially coupled with Vectis. So we know that the Kartut Defender minion is in the pool of Death Rattle minions that we can bring back. There's Greybough. Interesting. It's a 4/6. It cannot be Shadow-Word Deathed or Pained. But do we use Umbra first? I think we do. That is a nice little entrance. A particular little musical number that goes with it at the end and sort of trails off. Okay, so the Greybough effect has gone onto Umbra. So now Umbra will summon Greybough. Okay, interesting. Alex Straza. Let's see what we get. Varanus, the Feywing, sure.
Playtime's over.
So I'm saying to my opponent, do you have Psychic Scream? If you do, you may want to use it now. So if we bait it out now, we don't have to worry about it again. Although, that play would suggest... Yep, there he is. Shadow Reaper Anduin. So the problem with his play is that Greybough is still active here now. This board hasn't been cleared. And look at all the value in our hand. This is where the decisions start to come in. You know, what do we want to do? What do we want to commit to this board into a Psychic Scream? So, God of the Deep, N'Zoth, do your thing. Alright, we just get the dragon back. Oh, that's fine. I should have thought about that a little bit more before I did it. But again, I'm trying to bait out a Psychic Scream. I'm hoping maybe he would utilise one here. It's going to go with Kazakus. How scared are we of Kazakus? Would he take a 5-cost potion or a 10-cost potion? I think that's the question. 10 cost with the polymorph effect, Mystic Wool is concerning. Mass Hysteria, sure. And the board is still kind of threatening on my side. So I'm going to assume he took a 10-cost potion. But I need to play something, right? And this is where I get a little bit lost with the decision making. Oh, we do have Zephyrus in hand. Was there any kind of missed lethal on this turn? I don't think so. Okay. I don't know if that play was correct. I was scared of committing Vectus into Psychic Scream because then we'd lose our Reno effect, we'd lose our Zephyrus effect. That's fine. Okay. But what else do I do here? If I'm not playing N'Zoth, what else do I do? I'm looking at Hadronox, but you know what? N'Zoth here represents a lot of pressure. And if there is anything that's going to bring out the Psychic Scream, it's this. I do understand, though, that we get duplicates into our deck. Our Reno is no longer active. But otherwise, what else would I have done on that last turn that was in any way proactive? You know, Vectus, if he was Psychic Screamed, would also have deactivated my Reno and my Zephyrus. I'm going to assume that there's no silence effect that he's got available to him here. And we're just going to go ahead and commit this. Viranus is a 7/6 body. If we commit this as well, it puts some more pressure on the board. He's at 11. So unless he gets Reno Jackson, he's going to be constantly mindful of the board, as opposed to being mindful of my face, right? So that's a good thing. Oh, of course. Of course, of course, of course. Why did I not think he would not have Reno? Of course, he played Polket, so of course he's going to have Reno. And he's got another Reno. Wonderful. Now I'm starting to regret my N'Zoth play, because my Reno is not active. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So I'm looking at his Reno and I'm thinking, let's kill it, because I'm going to then play Poison Seeds and pop the Hadronox. And I'd rather there was only one treant left on the board rather than two. So yes, Poison Seeds, get all of that value onto the board. Now, I could have done it differently. I could have saved my Clip spell. I could have traded the Hadronox into the Acolyte, and then Poison Seeds, and it would have resulted in the same thing with one treant left on the board. Except we would have given him a card if we traded into the Acolyte, and I didn't want to do that. Ultimately, though, did it really matter whether there was one treant or two treants left on the board? Anyway, we have all this healing on board, and if we can figure out how to kill off the Kartuk defenders, we should be able to race him and survive his hero power. So we have seen Mass Hysteria, we have seen Psychic Scream. It looks like in this game we will not need Reno after all. It looks like we'll just out-pressure him with this board. Ooh, Spawn of Shadows though, with two cards there in hand. That makes sense, you heal to 30, so you don't die to your own spawn. However, this is not enough damage unless that card costs 0. No, it doesn't. Wow, came down to this one turn with the Spawn of Shadows not being able to do enough damage by one card. And it's not lethal for us. So I have to trade. But getting back all of these Kartuk defenders has, I think, won me the game against this priest. It's kept me alive. So this is a good strategy, relying on Kartuk defender to negate their hero power. Now that's the best way to do it. Ping your own face. I absolutely love this. Our priest is very gracious in defeat. I appreciate this a lot. This is the first time I've seen a priest do this. In terms of pinging their own face. And look at all the values still in our hand. He'd be going up against a rogue. Now, we dump all of this. I don't think any of this is worth keeping. We're going to imagine that this rogue is going to be aggressive. Our opponent is Ghost Dog. I'm wondering if that is a friend of mine. Well, I don't think it is, because I think my friend, Ghost Dog, spells his name slightly differently, with a lowercase d rather than a capital D, so anyway. Yeah, this is definitely going to be an aggressive rogue if he's, I assume, just running very cheap cards in his deck if he's going to be drawing 3 a turn with the Reader. Does not swing with the weapon. Interesting. So we're going to always usually guess that what we draw costs more. Because we have quite an expensive deck. Yep, that's accurate. And we need to get rid of that. even though it draws him cards. The irony behind it. Drawing him cards on death, but at least going forward, it's not going to draw him any more cards. Oh, here we go. Ship's cannon. Oh dear. Was that naturalise a mistake on my part? Was I so obsessed with getting rid of the reader that maybe I should have thought about some of the other cards that he plays in his deck, like Ship's Cannon, that could also be a potential target? Because we have played Overgrowth, but we have not developed anything. And now our face is just going to take an absolute hammering. Ha ha indeed. And we're nearly dead. We are nearly dead. Now, granted, this is not as bad as Aggro Druid. If this was Aggro Druid, we would have been dead 2 turns ago, probably. But we still have a way out of this, potentially. We have Reno Jackson. And actually, I'm looking at Biology Project. And I think I'm going to use it because I want to ramp up to 9 mana. So next turn we have 10 mana and we can play the Colossus. The Colossus may become pertinent in terms of forming a roadblock. My concern would be sap. But maybe we can't think too much about that. This is a Kingsbane Rogue that has got such a dominant board here. If we'd had Spreading Plague at this point, we'd probably just win the game on the spot because, you know, those taunts, those scarabs would be able to absorb quite a few hits against his minions. But I guess Spreading Plague does not play well with Hadronox in this deck. So we're down to 14. We're still in quite a bit of trouble here. And the question is, what do we play? We have Greybough, we have Umbra into Taunt. That is some healing. Or Umbra into Greybough, but what does that really do? We have Ziliax, but then what else? We have the Colossus. And I think that has to be the play. So that is 14 health. If there's no sap, that is 14 health that's been bought for us here. And I wonder if he can actually get through all of it easily without sacrificing his cannon. Can he? Yeah, he can. He's got enough pirates on board. Oh, wow. This cannon is absolutely hammering my face. Wait, he sacrificed the cannon? Does that mean there are no pirates left in his deck, and so he thought there was no point keeping it? And he'd keep the Corsair because it's a 3-3 stats compared to 2-3 on the cannon? I am confused by that play. But anyway, I'm not complaining. So, Umbra Taunt for the healing value? And if we have not seen sap at this point of the game, and he hasn't got many cards left, if we do not see a sap this turn to get rid of the Taunt, then we've got to assume he doesn't have sap in his deck. Oh, okay, secret passage. Maybe he finds a sap now and then just kills us. Or maybe he doesn't. And interestingly enough, Taunt Defender comes back to life, still gets the proc with the Umbra when it comes back to life. That is a really cool effect. So we got quite a bit of healing there from Taunt Defender, more than we normally would get. Hadronox can't kill her off. Greybough is a taunt. We can pair him up with Ziliax. The other alternative was Zephyrus. But I want to hold on to Zephyrus for the time being. We may be able to get a more proactive play against Kingsbane. We may get weapon destruction, for example, that could just buy us another turn. Or maybe it won't, because he's nearly out of cards. So even if we destroy the weapon, we'll just get it back straight away. In this game, we actually have the deck tracker available, so we can see what's left in our deck, what is yet to come. So the store plan continues here. Shadow Flame clears the board. That's beautiful. So now we have to outlast Kingsbane. And there is a clock here because we have a taunt minion on board that's now dying. So we need another taunt. Oh, hello. That was very timely. I mean, even if we didn't pick it up there, we could have played Geppetto and there'd be a good chance we'd get it, right? So just looking at the minions that we would get back from this N'Zoth, I think it's going to be enough for us here to see through another turn. The other possibility is play Geppetto. That's a really nice entrance. Yeah, the other possibility is to play Geppetto and get the other N'Zoth. But this is fine. Ziliax there with Divine Shield is going to be so helpful. And that's it. Wow. So, we were able to withstand the aggressive onslaught of Kingsbane Rogue. Not bad. Okay, so Knoepklappers, Hadronox, Reno, Druid. Maybe there was some questionable plays in those games, but please remember, you know, those were the first games that I was playing with this deck, and I had a lot of fun with it, and I think I was able to prove that, you know, you can beat Priest and you can beat Rogue. I guess the ultimate test is beating Aggro Druid, and if you are facing Aggro Druids a lot on the ladder, I wonder if there's some cards you could take out of this deck and some different cards you could put in order to combat a more aggressive meta. What about Spreading Plague, for example? And even if Hadronox brings back those taunts from Spreading Plague, is that such a bad thing in an aggressive meta? I guess against Aggro Druid, you're never going to get a chance to play Hadronox anyway, so just being able to play Spreading Plague and block most of the aggression on the board still allows you to come back and win the game a bit later down the line, but using some of your other threats rather than Hadronox. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me, everyone. Thank you to Knoepklapper for the deck, as always. And if you've got questions, please post them in the comments section below, and I'm sure Knoepklapper will get back to us. But yes, until next time, do take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I will see you all again very soon for more Wild Mode fun.